We are looking at the book of Revelation as I have couched it from 10,000 feet. We're hitting the high spots quick and moving fast. I've done intense verse by verse studies, but this is kind of a new thing for me to try to move quickly. And we didn't do it in one session, and we didn't do it in 2 sessions, and I don't think we're going to get done in 3 sessions tonight either. But the 21 chapters are beyond epic. That word gets thrown out around a lot. Epic is like a worldwide thing, and that's what the revelation of Jesus Christ is. And so we are up to chapter 17, and we're going to begin with these first few verses. A lot of really bad things have already happened. The devil is building his system and gathering his power, and God has already begun to pour out the bowls of wrath upon the earth. Chapter 17 is another chapter, a unique chapter. Verse 1, "And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show thee unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication." So let's stop there. The fornication here, in all likelihood, does not mean sex. This is more along the lines of what God called what Israel did. So Israel was supposed to be wed to God. The church is going to be wed one day to Christ. We're the bride of Christ. But Israel is married to God. And whenever Israel went off into idolatry, God called that. They went off a whoring after the idols. So that's the symbolism of what's going on here. It's symbolic, but it's symbolic of something. Right? So this fornication is religious in nature, and that's the reason why this woman, and so just you might want to make a note for yourself. Anytime a woman is used in the Bible, metaphorically, symbolically, prophetically, she is a religious authority, either out of place or doing the wrong thing. Okay, so when metaphorically God wants to talk about a religious authority out of place or doing the wrong thing, he typifies that in a woman. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be whatever that is. That's what God does. And so this is a religion thing. The false prophet and his religion in the world is what is in mind here. And so the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her wrath. So there's going to be a religion, a false, idolatrous religion. And so he carried me away in verse 3 in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast. You've heard of the Woman Rides a Beast. That's the name of a great book. If you get that book, The Woman Rides a Beast. That's a great book about this chapter and about all these things that we're talking about here. The woman was arrayed with... let me back now, I'm sorry. "And I saw a woman sit upon scarlet-colored beast, full of the names of blasphemy." So we've got this religion thing going on again. Right? "Having 7 horns and 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints." So we read that, but now think about what that means. This religious system is going to kill a lot of, and indeed already has, and that's the reason why it can be said here, even before it happens. This woman has drunk the blood of a lot of saints. I mean, you study the history of the Catholic Church, and you're going to find out how thousands upon thousands have been murdered by it. So, Mystery Babylon. Not hard to figure out what God's talking about here. This is symbolic language that's very powerful with God. You go back to Genesis chapter 11. You've got a guy by the name of Nimrod. And that's Babylon. And that's a particular area of the world, Iraq, the plain of Shinar. Interesting things happen on the plain of Shinar. There was Daniel's 3 friends refused to bow down to the golden statue, and they were thrown in the fire, and God saved them. That was on the plain of Shinar. There's something about that area. There's a lot more prophetically we could go into. If we're going to hit the high spots, we're going to have to hit the high spots. So this is taking us back to the Tower of Babel, the one world government, the one world religion, the one world economy. So all of that oneness is shaping up. God told them to scatter, and yet they came back together. And, I mean, you can look at it today. Cities are very bad things. I mean, you can find churches in cities, and there's good, but by and large, bad stuff happens in cities. Happens multiplied over and over. Streetwalkers walk in cities. They don't tend to be out in the rural areas. You know, that's just one illustration of 1,000 things we could talk. Cities are not good things. God did not want them to be gathered into a city. The only city I know of, 2 cities, I guess we could say, Jerusalem and New Jerusalem one of these days. So, any questions before we move on? We're not done talking about this, but if you've got questions, I want you to jump in there. Well, and mad in a mental sense, they're insane. And so the thing that God's looking for about whether somebody's saved or not is whether they have given their loyalty to Him through Christ. Right? And baptism is an outward portrayal of their putting their stake in the ground. Christ is mine, I'm His. And so when Israel goes off a whoring after the idols, it's a religious thing. And so it's playing itself out around us. We're going to talk about that more in just a moment. There's much question about who this woman is. It's not the Roman Catholic Church now, but it's going to be the Roman Catholic Church during the tribulation. And indeed, the Roman Catholic Church always speaks of all of the other churches of the world. This is how they speak of them. Those are our wayward children. One day they will come home. And indeed they will. The false church during the tribulation. There'll be churches during the tribulation. You know, I've teased about things. You know, if the rapture happens, you know, next Sunday, Dan can take up the offering. You know, just joking about it. There will be people, and Dan's not one of them, but there will be people who will show up for church the Sunday after the rapture. And the church will, in some form or another, give itself over to the harlot that I want to get to in the news. So some of these organizations this year have really done a good job of looking back over the past year. We're doing this study because the last 3 years has been
insane.
Nothing like anything I've seen in my lifetime prophetically, the way that things have shaped up. And this year, you know, we all thought 2022 was going to be a normal year, right?
Ain't nothing normal anymore.
No, it just continues to get worse. So, Jan Markell put together an article for Harbinger's Daily. I put to you Harbinger's Daily is a great place to go each day to get a little bit of news and from a Christian perspective. And Jan Markell is a really good author about this kind of thing. So her article was One World Intentions. Top 10 Bible Prophecy Stories of 2022. So we're not going to talk about in any detail all of it, but I want to hit these high spots for you just to think about what has shaped up in the last year. The rise of the World Economic Forum, and that's been shaping up for a few years, but this year they have really made inroads, and they're right out there in the open with it now. The stirring up of the spirit of the Antichrist. What's the spirit of the Antichrist? Rebellion. That's what Nimrod was. Nimrod is the epitome of rebellion. Satan is the poster boy for rebellion. He rebelled against God. And that spirit of Antichrist is alive and well and growing exponentially right now. Government knows best. You know, the sad thing about that is you and I, that's not true, but a whole bunch of people out there,
I believe it is.
they think the government knows best.
That's why the Democrats are in control.
Well, yeah. And so then the rise of the green dragon, the worship of Mother Earth, that's really shaping up as a religion. You know, they just gathered on Mount Sinai, like anybody knows where Mount Sinai really is. But they gathered where they think Mount Sinai is to have the 10 Commandments of climate change. Right? I mean, could this be any clearer? That this is a religion, an Antichrist religion forming up. The race towards a digital currency, I told you last week, I still have to scratch myself. I can't believe that in all of my lifetime, all the theories and the things that prophecy buffs and preachers have put forth about what 666 is going to be, you know, and they were all wrong, every one of them. And some of them were quite interesting, but they were wrong. You and I now see it. Don't know what the final form is going to be, but the ESG, economic, social, governmental, you're either going to conform to that or you're not going to be able to buy or sell. That's already true on the level of banking system and government, multinational corporations and that sort of thing. But we're already there. It's going to begin to come down to us slowly but surely. And that's going to be the form. Ultimately, it's going to be 666. We're going to be gone. But that we see that shaping up, well, next to 1948, Israel becoming a nation, that's the biggest prophetic sign in my lifetime that we can see that. The decline of America, the lack of a world leader. The world's really hungry for somebody to stand up with the answers. Christians are canceled. Jews are under attack. We could spend all night on any one of these things. The rise of strong delusion and global deception. Slowly but surely, people are being shaped up to accept that which is not true. I mean, it seems reasonable. You're losing 80% of the heat of your body out through your head. I worry about my hands and my feet more than anything else. The apostasy of the church. I mean, this last year, we've seen Hillsong just do so many things that are into spiritism. Remember talking about the grave soaking? Anybody not know what grave soaking is? Grave soaking is where a bunch of Christians, so-called, will gather at a cemetery at the grave of some real spiritual giant who has died. And you will lay across that gravestone or across that grave and lay out. And you will soak up the spirit of that dead saint. Well, it is evil.
Sure
it is spiritism. But Hillsong is promoting it big time. And the other mega churches. You know, if cities are bad things, I'm beginning to think that maybe mega churches are not good things either. The average Southern Baptist church, that is the bulk of Southern Baptist churches, are 100 and less. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
And I was talking with Chris today over lunch. We were talking about some of the mega churches in our area, and I said, you know, God bless them. They're reaching people. I'm all for them. But when somebody needs to have a cup of coffee talking about a problem, they can look me in the eye. Now, those churches can do that too, but they have to put a mechanism in place for that to happen. And I'm sure that they do. I'm just saying that just naturally happens here. I'll bet there's been somebody here tonight who's already been encouraged just by a conversation you had with somebody, and you probably needed that. So there's that. the paranormal and the occult. And that's not in the church. We just talked about what's going on in the church, but this is outside the church. The Druids and witches and Wicca and all of that, that's becoming a real thing again. Then the next one, this was very fascinating to me. I had never put it together quite this way. Today's Democratic Party is a kaleidoscope of bizarre and destructive cults. So I read the article. What cults are controlling them? The Mormons. Who are they talking about? This was in WorldNet Daily if you want to go chase it down. So there's Moloch. So here's just kind of a quick, short, first paragraph list. The climate change cult. You know about that. I don't need to explain that. But that's an actual cult. Those people don't think like normal people. It's cult-like. The anti-racism cult, that's Black Lives Matters. The cult of woke, somewhat associated with that. So does anybody not know what woke means? I'll explain it. So, like its name indicates, you get woke up. What you're woke up to is, okay, well, let's start with the Black Lives Matters. They say that America is systemically racist. By that, they mean that all of the laws that we have in place, all the laws that Congress has passed, all the laws that the state of Missouri, all the laws are anti-black people. Now, you could run to those laws and you could look and say, well, that just applies to everybody. What they mean by that is, if you get woke, you look and you see, oh, the history of our country, our laws should actually be preferring black people. They should be written so that black people don't have to pay as much interest at the bank as white people. You get woke up, you say, yeah, we're racist as a nation, and all of our laws are not helping like they need to be helping the black people. And by the way, it's just black people too. It can't be anything else. Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh my God.
She just had to double down yesterday or today. She said that the Holocaust could not be racist because it was white on white. Because to them, the only race is white and black. Everything else is some variation of that. So therefore, a black person can't be racist. And what went on with the Holocaust was about something else. It was not. It was about power, and it was about politics and war. It didn't have anything to do with race. Well, if you asked Mr. Hitler, he would tell you it was all about race. He hated that race.
Yeah,
that race was a bunch of rats that needed to be destroyed.
Yeah.
But to Whoopi, you see the mentality. So when you get woke, that's where Whoopi is. She's got woke. She understands these things better than you do. Well, and so today, don't miss the main point. You're nothing if you're not a woke white person.
That's right.
Ally, thank you. They say that I need to be an ally, and the only way I can be an ally is if I am every day putting down something that is racist. I'm not really an ally if I'm not looking for ways, and that means holding the door open for a black person. I mean, even that elementary. They need to be preferred. Because of all the evil things we have done to them, we owe them reparations. Yeah, I'm sure it's not new in the black community. That is new in the white community, and that's where you get woke as a white person, then and that's a cult mentality.
I hope I stay asleep.
Well, the fact is, whenever you hear me use the word woke, I'm using it sarcastically.
I know.
And the LGBTQ cult, we don't need to talk about that. The transgender cult, every day we're hearing about somebody who is just, their lives, they say, have been destroyed because they listened to somebody who talked them into having the drugs and the sex change operation. I mean, their lives are literally ruined.
Right. Yeah.
One I was reading about today, he was a Navy SEAL. And she said, I'll think about what that military psychologist talked me into for the rest of my life. Now, he's trying to, go back, but his life's gone. He'll never get his life back. He can do all he can do, but that stain is there. He'll never get it back. And so that's a cult-like mentality. Why would a psychiatrist try to talk a kid into something like that?
Because it's a cult.
Because it's a cult. The cult of abortion, the cult of globalism, the TikTok cult. So I've never seen TikTok, but I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and YouTube has their answer to that, and it's called Shorts. You ever seen the Shorts? They're just like 30 seconds long. One of them, I remember, I didn't see it, but I saw the headline of it, so to speak. And the guy thought it would be good to make a video, and the whole headline was, he was holding the leg of his girlfriend and wouldn't let go. Why would I want to see that? Why would I care about that? Why would you do that? Okay, that's the kind of silliness, the ridiculousness. Well, Satan always does things by distraction, but this is really more about control.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
The president, remember at the end, before the election, he had the TikTok bunch come in to the White House. Because there are, I don't know how many TikTok kids, because that's the plan.
Sure it is.
That's
But
not
it's
insanity. That's insanity to unite. That's the plan. But now let me ask you a question. If you didn't know all this, and you saw what was going on, and you had to go to work every day, and you had to visit with your neighbor, and if you had to live in this world and you didn't know what we're talking about was predicted, and it is a part of what is going to happen, I don't know how you wouldn't be crazy.
Okay.
I'm scared.
I don't know how you wouldn't commit suicide. One of the things I hear from people regularly about our church is that when you walk in here, it has a home feel, a safe home feel. That's not about the construction. The property is going to fall down around our shoulders if we don't do something about it. It's about our conversations and our relating to each other.
Yeah.
People can feel that and see it. That's really good. And I'm told by a lot of people who have been searching for churches. I don't know how many times, since I've been here 13 years, I'll bet I've heard it 13 times. People who have been searching for churches, and they went to church and nobody spoke to them.
Yeah.
I don't even know how that happens. If nothing else, that's my pew, sir. How does that happen that nobody talks to them? But evidently there is a coldness. Jesus said, interestingly, before he comes back, he said in the latter times, he said the love of many would wax cold.
Yep.
Isn't that interesting? Well, it's past 8 o'clock, so we're going to have to stop.